I hope you can obviously tell that the engine is not misfiring anymore and is running smoothly now. All right, I'm gonna wait the rest of the time and then we'll see what's like in another 7 minutes. Just a quick disclaimer before we get to this video. I just tried this as a fun thing. I have no plans on restoring that engine. It's not a numbers matching. It's not the correct engine for this car. It's a later engine, and I think it's had a trouble path. So that's why I want to try this. I would never want to try an experiment like this on an engine I was going to do something with or wanting to keep. It's just a quick disclaimer in the beginning. But now let's just see if this actually works. Welcome back to Living with a Classic, another episode of Daily Driving and Classic Weekly. Yes, this week you're getting 2 episodes of Daily Driving Classic Weekly. That's just because there was so much interest in the last video where basically it was the end of the engine for this car. If you haven't seen the video, I'll put a link to up above so you can check it out. But basically the head gasket or something has gone again on this car. But a lot of you guys wanted me to try something. So I dug the car out of storage, got rid of some of the snow during my lunch break, went into town and got some of this. Basically a head gasket fix in a can. I'm not sure if I believe in it or not. However, I think this is a great way to try it out. I mean, the engine is basically, I'm not going to use it anyways. I will look for another one. And if this fixes it, that would be great. The only reason I think it could work is because I have a very, very small leak. I drove it now, it really drove fine. I checked when I came back, I didn't lose any coolant. It was, maybe a half an hour trip or something. Didn't lose any coolant, it was running fine. When I came back, there was a slight misfire after a while. I filmed that, so I'll show you guys that right now. So as you see, it is smoking a bit, misfiring a little bit, so definitely something is going wrong, but I think this is worth a try. I did actually ask the guy in the auto parts store, and this is a really good auto parts store. I really do trust the guys. All of them are classic car enthusiasts and do a lot of things. I asked him, does this actually work? And he said he sold it to a couple people who have then come back later and thanked them and said that yes, it did work. Because if it works great, and won't be a permanent fix, at least I think, if it does work. But if it does, at least I can enjoy the car a little bit more and continue looking for an engine, which I know will not be that easy. So it's really simple how to use this. I chose this one. There were a couple different brands, but I don't want to remove the thermostat. I don't want to flush the coolant system. It's winter and freezing outside. This one you just basically pour in. So you got to wait till the engine is cool enough so you can open up the expansion tank and don't get burned, of course. I've waited now a couple hours and I just opened up this fine. I checked that there was really no loss of coolant. You pour this in. I have actually removed a little bit of coolant just so I have enough space to pour this whole bottle in. Pour it in, fill the coolant back up to the correct level, put the caps back on, start the engine, let it idle for 15 minutes, then turn it off, let it completely cool down. So I'm going to let it sit overnight and then you're supposed to be fine. So let's see if this stuff actually works. I removed a bit of coolant. So you see the level is down here. It was all the way up here when I got back. And I checked with a stick down there and it was a good level, about halfway up the expansion tank. So it wasn't really low on coolant. And I can see this is about as much as I got out. I hope that's going to be enough to let me pour this in. So actually, I don't think I can get that much more out of it. Or you know what, I'm going to try and remove a little bit more coolant with a syringe, and then we're going to shake up this bottle really well, pour it all in and see what happens. All right, I got a little bit more out, but I can't really get more out at the moment, so hopefully it's going to work. Shook up the bottle and opened it up, and it's a weird sort of coppery look. So I'm going to see if I can pour it in here while filming. Alright, that's definitely weird looking. Alright, it's going up there. Let me see if it goes down. It's starting to go down. Otherwise, I might have to start up the engine, get it to maybe circulate a little bit, and pour the rest of this in, and put the cap on really quickly so it doesn't pour out. So, let's see. It's pretty much I'll have to put the camera down, fill this up as much as I can. We'll start it up and then probably pour in a little bit more. All right, let's start this thing up. and make sure we have the heat on. It says that in instructions, and we'll have a little bit of fan on. I don't know why, but it says so in instructions. All right, I'm gonna see if I can get the rest of that bottle to go in there. I poured in the whole bottle now, put the cap back on, poured the remainder of the coolant I took out in the expansion tank. I also filled up a little bit all the way up here, so the system is full like it says in the instructions. Now it's just supposed to idle for 15 minutes. I'm gonna let it do that, just exactly following the instructions. One more interesting thing, some of you guys noted you saw some coolant down here, and yes, now that it got cold, the core plug I replaced there a while ago, it leaks sometimes now, so that's also gonna be an interesting thing. I bought new ones, planning on replacing them, but I mean, if this seals that up as well, that could be an interesting thing to try out. And yeah, there's a little bit of oil leak here. When I put the head back on, I forgot to order valve cover gaskets. I had to reuse an old one with some extra goo in there, and definitely not work. So that's also my plan, to get new valve cover gaskets and check the valve clearance. But it is running right now. It is, it's a little bit rough. Let's see what it sounds like in the back. There is a little bit of smoke, but I mean, I'm expecting, it's very cold outside, and it should probably smoke. If I filled up the exhaust with coolant, it's going to smoke for a while. But let's see. It is almost getting up to temperature, but I'm going to let this thing, we're going to follow instructions just how you're supposed to, because it seems like the reviews I saw for this product, that people that followed instructions actually seem to have gotten good results. So we're going to do that. And I'll be back when there's a minute or two left. We'll see how it's running then, and then we'll turn it off. Just a quick update here. We're about halfway through the time, 7 minutes or so, and it is smoothing out. It is as smooth as I know it should be. I mean, it would need a little bit of a rev to maybe clear the plugs a little bit. I'm not going to do that because it says just to idle it. But it is definitely running smoother now. Still some smoke out the back, but I'm expecting that to persist for a while just because it's so cold. But it is not misfiring at all. It is very, very smooth. It's just as smooth as it was running a couple of weeks ago. So, or yeah, like a week or so ago. So I don't know, this is weird. I don't really know what to believe. This kind of stuff, I've never really thought that, a mechanic in a can is anything that can work, but there must be a reason that these products keep getting made and people do buy them. At least that's my theory, supply and demand. But we'll see. I mean, I hope you can obviously tell that the engine is not misfiring anymore and is running smoothly now. All right, I'm gonna wait the rest of the time, and then we'll see what's like in another 7 minutes. We're pretty much at the 15-minute mark now, and it's weird. It's just got smooth then, and it stayed smooth. It's running very nice and smoothly. It's at the correct temperature, which it has been the whole time. It's never got hot or anything, but it's nice and smooth. Like I said, there's a tiny, tiny vibration to it, but that's just because I think it needs a good run. It's fouling the plugs, idling this long, but it's actually smoothed out. And the fun thing is that would normally now leak a tiny, tiny bit right there, and it hasn't. So this has apparently done something at least. And back here we still have, some smoke, but it's very, very cold outside, and there's probably a bunch of condensation in the exhaust from the leak. But I don't know how this will show up on camera, but I can see there is water coming out here, but that's probably just old stuff. There is not, okay, there was a tiny bit of a hiccup right there, but before that, I mean, it was misfiring pretty much constantly. So I don't know, we're gonna turn it off now. We need to follow instructions. Let's see. It's nice and toasty in here, so hasn't plugged up anything yet. All right, there we go. All turned off, and now you're supposed to let it completely cool down. So I guess it's during the cool down process that it continues sealing or something. I don't know. My guess is that if there's a leak going in somewhere, this stuff will go in there now with the coolant and maybe cure that. I mean, I have no idea if this stuff is going to work or not. I really, of course, really hope it does. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to be disappointed. It's a fun test anyways. But I will be back, I think tomorrow. I will let this thing cool all the way. It's it's late afternoon now, almost evening, so I'll let this thing cool off overnight. Go for a drive tomorrow, and then I'll let you know how it feels after that drive. And if it continues to feel good, I'll drive it for another couple of days and give you guys an update then as well. It's the next day after the test. It's been pretty close to 24 hours since I ran it last. So I thought we would follow the rest of the instructions. I'm going to check the coolant level. Also be fun to see what it looks like in there. And top it off if needs be. Check the level and go for a drive. So let's start here. I might need to put down the camera to do this. I open up both the caps now, and this level is pretty much perfect. You can see some of that odd glitter in there. I'm guessing it's going to look like that for a while. Not really sure, but it's absolutely the correct level in there. And this side is always really, really hard to see. So what I use is just one of these, stick it down, and I'm guessing it's at the 6th level. Dry it off. Let's see if we get the same results again. Yeah, pretty much at the 6th. So if we check that, it's pretty much halfway up there. So we'll remember that when we check the level a little bit later. Put the caps back on and see how this thing fires up. I realized I forgot to show the oil to you guys before, so let's just have a look at that. And yeah, there's no contamination or anything like that. It's a little dark looking, but up to the correct level and nothing weird looking over there. So let's see if this thing fires up nicely. Turn off the fan. Alright, I mean, it's running a tiny bit rough, but it's a little cold outside and it's not perfectly adjusted. There we go, starting to smooth out. But I'll let this thing warm up. We are going to zero the odometer. And I will go for, there we go, now it's smoothing out. I'll go for a drive, a decently long one, and we're just going to see if we're loose coolant and also if the smoke in the back disappears. A little update to my drive here. We're about, almost 16 kilometers. Do still have smoke. It's not really smoking though while I'm driving. I just stopped here for a bit, but I'm going to continue driving now and see if that disappears or not. Also, I've noticed that it is running a little bit warmer than usually. Usually it's between, over by the O of normal. It got up to middle of the M while I was going up the mountain a little bit. I also have the heat on max the whole time I've had that, and it's definitely hotter in the car now than it was before. Let's go see what it looks like out the back. Yep, it's still smoking. And I think I forgot to mention that while I was driving on a faster 2-lane road, about 90 kilometers an hour or so, I noticed that I sort of felt like it was misfiring and just not running right, and it was smoking. So yeah, it is definitely not happy. But what I'm gonna do is I don't want to turn it off in case it just doesn't want to start here again, because it puts a lot of water in the cylinders. So I want to get it down into the storage. So I'm going to drive around the house down into the storage, and then I'll let it sit for I think I was in the grocery store like 10-15 minutes. I'll let it sit for that long, and then I'll show you the amount of smoke it blows when it starts up. It's been about 15 minutes now. Let's see how badly this thing smokes when it starts up. It doesn't even want to run. and I saw a lot of smoke out the back. Let's go and have a look. Yeah, that is pretty smoky. Should not be that smoky after that much of a run. Definitely, this has not worked. That's it for this video, and let's say that did not work at all. I'm not saying it's not ever going to work, but I don't believe in these things before, and I definitely don't believe in them now. If you have a blown head gasket or a crack or something, you need to get that fixed or find a replacement engine. I did not have any plans. I still don't have any plans on restoring this engine. I think it's had a troubled past. It's probably been overheated a few times. I know it's had a bad rebuild at one point, because when we went through it the first time, we saw a lot of things that were incorrectly done, at least at the top end of the engine. So it's been overheated probably once, had a bad rebuild, and I don't think it's worth the time and money to rebuild this one. If it was the correct engine for the car, then maybe yes, everything or almost everything can be fixed, but it's not the numbers matching engine for this car, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep my eye open for another one. However, if you guys want to, I saw some comments that you want to see maybe what has happened. I'm not going to take this engine apart right now, but if you want, I could take an inspection camera. We can have a look inside the cylinder, see if we can see any evidence of water, take the spark plugs out, see if we can see anything like that. I'm also going to move it into its sort of final resting place, so all the way in the storage unit, so it's a little bit out of the way. When I've done that, sort of the last startup, I'm going to probably remove some of the gas from the gas tank, because it has a half a tank. Doesn't really need that, but it's going to be sitting for I don't know how long, and the gas is just going to go bad anyway, so I'll take it out and use it in a lawnmower or something. And I'm probably going to spray some WD-40 and some oil down the cylinders just so they don't completely rust out, so it can start up and move under its own power when I need to move it up to the workshop for an engine swap in the future. Anyways, I hope you guys liked this video, even though it's something I would not recommend. Don't do this to your car. It has definitely not helped. And yes, I will professionally flush out the radiator and every other part of the cooling system before a new engine goes in, of course. But this was a fun experiment. I've always wanted to try this, and this seemed like the perfect time to try it, because it's an engine I'm not going to keep. And if it did work and it worked for a couple of months, that would have been amazing, but it did not work. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. If you want to continue seeing these videos and seeing me daily drive a classic, I will be driving another classic, my 1991 Daimler, then please follow the channel, hit that subscribe button and bell notification, and you won't miss any future updates. Anyways, until next time, I'm Adam, and this was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.